The idea of fruit feels familiar, almost timeless. Soft, colorful, filled with sweetness and nourishment, fruits seem like a constant in the human experience. But long before orchards, markets, or even humanity itself, there existed fruits that belonged to entirely different worlds. Fruits that evolved under alien skies, shaped by climates and ecosystems that no longer exist. Many of them disappeared without a trace, leaving behind only fragments, fossils, impressions, and the silent record of deep time. These forgotten fruits were not simply earlier versions of what exists today. They were part of ecosystems that operated under very different rules. To understand them is to step into ancient landscapes where continents were arranged differently, where the air itself held a different composition, and where life followed unfamiliar rhythms. One of the earliest chapters in the story of fruit begins not with sweetness, but with survival. Around 300 million years ago, during the late Carboniferous and into the Permian period, Earth's land was dominated by vast, swampy forests. Towering lycophytes, giant horsetails, and early seed-bearing plants formed dense, humid ecosystems. At this stage, what we would recognize as fruit did not yet exist in the modern sense. Instead, plants relied on spores or exposed seeds to reproduce. It was during this time that the first significant evolutionary step toward fruit began to emerge: the development of seeds enclosed within protective structures. Early gymnosperms, such as seed ferns, produced seeds that were often surrounded by fleshy or fibrous tissues. These were not fruits in the strict botanical sense, but they served a similar purpose, protecting the seed and, in some cases, aiding in its dispersal. As the Permian period progressed, Earth's climate began to change dramatically. The lush, waterlogged forests gave way to drier, more seasonal environments. Plants that could protect their seeds and ensure successful reproduction gained an advantage. Over millions of years, this pressure led to increasingly complex reproductive structures. Then came one of the most devastating events in Earth's history: the Permian-Triassic mass extinction, around 252 million years ago. Often called the Great Dying, Inchwoy Kasi Daubi Infrashna, wiped out a vast majority of species on land and in the oceans. Entire ecosystems collapsed. Many early seed-bearing plants, along with their primitive fruit-like structures, disappeared forever. But extinction, while destructive, also creates space for new forms of life to emerge. In the Triassic and Jurassic periods, new groups of plants began to rise. Among them were the ancestors of modern conifers and cycads. These plants produced seeds in cones or exposed structures, but some also developed fleshy coverings that may have attracted early animals. Evidence suggests that certain prehistoric creatures played a role in dispersing these seeds, marking one of the earliest interactions between plants and animals centered around fruit-like structures. Still, true fruit as we know it had not yet appeared. That transformation would come later, during one of the most significant evolutionary breakthroughs in plant history. Around 140 million years ago, in the early Cretaceous period, the first flowering plants, angiosperms, began to emerge. This was a turning point. Angiosperms developed a completely new reproductive strategy: seeds enclosed within ovaries, which would mature into fruit. These early fruits were unlike anything seen before. Some were small and simple, while others evolved into more complex forms. Fossil evidence reveals a surprising diversity even in these early stages. Structures resembling berries, pods, and nut-like forms. These fruits were not just protective coverings, they became tools for interaction with the environment. Animals, particularly early insects and small vertebrates, began to play a crucial role. Fruits offered nourishment, and in return, animals helped disperse seeds across vast distances. This mutual relationship drove rapid diversification. Plants evolved different colors, textures, and chemical compositions to attract specific dispersers. However, many of these ancient fruits belong to lineages that would not survive to the present day. Take, for example, extinct members of early angiosperm groups that produced fruits with unusual structures, thick, armored outer layers, or intricate internal compartments. Some fossils suggest fruits that were adapted to environments with intense seasonal droughts, capable of remaining dormant for extended periods before releasing their seeds. Others appear to have been specialized for ecosystems that no longer exist, such as the warm polar forests that once thrived in regions that are now frozen. During the Cretaceous, parts of what is now Antarctica supported lush vegetation, including fruit-bearing plants. These fruits evolved under conditions of extreme seasonal light, with months of continuous daylight followed by long periods of darkness. As the Cretaceous period drew to a close, another mass extinction event reshaped life on Earth. The event that also ended the age of the dinosaurs around 66 million years ago. This catastrophe disrupted ecosystems worldwide. While many plant groups survived, countless species, including unique fruit-bearing plants, Vansanar, Mafranici, Sanasnatermir, Didadar Shimori Shatham. Fast surviving angiosperms expanded rapidly. They diversified into the ancestors of many modern fruits, apples, berries, and countless others. But the fruits that existed before this transition were often very different from anything seen today. Some ancient fruits were larger or more structurally complex than their modern counterparts. Others relied on now extinct animals for dispersal, creating ecological relationships that could not survive the loss of those partners. When those animals disappeared, the plants often followed. Over time, changing climates, shifting continents, and ongoing evolutionary pressures continued to shape plant life. Ice ages, volcanic activity, and competition from newer plant species all contributed to the gradual disappearance of countless ancient fruits. Today, what remains are fragments, fossilized seeds, impressions of fruit structures in rock, and rare preserved specimens that offer glimpses into these lost worlds. Through the work of paleobotanists, scientists who study ancient plant life, these fragments are carefully analyzed to reconstruct the forms and functions of long-extinct vegetation. They examine the thickness of seed coats, the arrangement of internal tissues, and the chemical signatures left behind in fossils. From these clues, they infer how these fruits may have looked, how they reproduced, and how they interacted with their environment. What becomes clear is that the fruits we know today are only a small part of a much larger story. They are the survivors of a long and complex evolutionary journey, shaped by events that erased countless other possibilities. The forgotten fruits of ancient worlds remind us that evolution is not a straight path. It is a branching, unpredictable process, filled with experiments. Some successful, many not. Entire lineages can rise, dominate, and disappear, leaving behind only subtle traces. In a way, every fruit that exists today carries echoes of those lost forms. The protective layers, the sweetness designed to attract dispersers, the intricate structures that safeguard seeds, all of these features have deep roots in the past, but there are also limits to what can be recovered. Many ancient fruits left no fossils at all. Soft tissues decay quickly, and only under rare conditions are they preserved. This means that much of Earth's botanical history remains hidden, forever beyond direct observation. And yet, even in their absence, these forgotten fruits have shaped the world. They influenced the evolution of animals, contributed to the development of ecosystems, and played a role in the long transformation of Earth's surface. To imagine them is to imagine landscapes unlike anything that exists today. Forests filled with unfamiliar shapes, colors, and forms. Fruits that may have tasted nothing like those we know, growing on plants that have no modern equivalent. They belong to worlds that are gone, but not entirely lost. Through science, Fragments of their story continue to emerge, offering a deeper understanding of how life evolves, adapts, and sometimes disappears. And in that understanding lies a quiet reminder. The natural world is constantly changing. What exists now is only a moment in a much longer history, one that stretches far beyond human experience into a past filled